Hey everybody, we are here at the San Antonio Cocktail Conference. We're here with the Texas Whiskey Association, and we are here today to announce the launch of the Texas Whiskey Trail. It's been a long time coming, and we got a lot of things that we're going to talk about, but I am here with a very recognizable figure in the world of Texas whiskey, Dan Garrison. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing great, Spencer. Thanks for letting me talk to you.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of members of Texas Whiskey Association, founding members who have joined. We have 12 total founding members. You are among the first.
Exciting as hell. Very excited about it.
How long have you been wanting to do this?
You know, for about 10 years, we've been hoping to establish a Texas Whiskey Trail. We've been hoping to establish certification standards for what makes a real Texas whiskey product as opposed to a product that's sourced from other states. And so this is exciting as hell for me. I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm honored to be a part of it.
Yeah. So for those of you that are wondering what a certified Texas whiskey is, see that label right there? It might be a little bit hard to see, but it says Certified Texas Whiskey. And what that means is that it was grain to glass within the state of Texas. And so in other words, you start with grain. The grain can come from lots of different places, but you start with grain and you're doing your milling, your mashing, your fermentation, your distillation, your maturation, your bottling, all within the state of Texas. You're having Texas employees, you're improving the Texas economy, and all of this is going to be done within the state of Texas. You've been like this from the start. This has been your method.
We never anticipated doing it any other way. I mean, part of the reason that I started this business is I wanted to create a business that contributed to the gross domestic product of Texas. I wanted to create a business that hired Texans and employed Texans and created good jobs, high-paying jobs, skilled jobs. I wanted to create a business that used Texas agricultural products. And when I went to Kentucky way back in the early 2000s to discover this beautiful industry they have and the respect that Kentuckians have for good bourbon whiskey, I knew there was no way we were going to use somebody else's juice in our bottle. We were going to make our own from scratch.
Now, I'm seeing a couple people are starting to join us now. It looks like Gretchen Galladay joined our live feed. Gretchen, just to make sure you guys can hear us and everything's good, right? If you can, just go ahead and say yes in the comments. Dan, why don't you tell a little bit about what you hope the trail is going to achieve, both our organization and the Texas Whiskey Trail.
So the trail, one of the greatest aspects of craft distilling in this state is that we're going to create jobs and we're going to impact tourism. For every dollar that people spend at my distillery, they're pumping about $20 back into the local community while they're in our vicinity, having lunch, having dinner, having drinks, taking limousine tours, that sort of thing. All of that money helps contribute to the gross national product of Texas. I mean, gross domestic product.
Well, it is kind of a national product.
It's good stuff. Yeah.
We kind of consider ourselves a nation here, right?
Well, we are a nation.
That's right.
Soon we're going to have to secede, and when we do, we're taking all our bourbon whiskey with us.
That's right. That's right. So for those of you that are starting to join, feel free to ask some questions. I'll relay them to the folks. We're going to have members from all of our founding members. So starting here with Dan, we're going to work with Still Austin here in a little bit. So if you guys have any questions, let us know. Dan, it took us a long time to put this thing together. I mean, it was not an easy process. So now that we're here and we're launching something, what do you feel about it?
So the grandfather of distilling in Texas is Tito Beverage. I think everybody knows Tito. Tito's done an amazing job. He created this industry, and for a long time, nobody followed him because we didn't know how. And it took a lot of education. It took a lot of momentum to make this thing happen. And then all of a sudden, the state was flooded with these new whiskeys that were coming from all over the place, but nobody owned their own grain silos. Nobody owned their own fermentation tanks. Nobody ground their own grain. When you went to visit these places, they'd take you on a tour, but they wouldn't show you where the corn was, or the wheat, or the barley, the essential ingredients that make a good bourbon whiskey. And so what was going on? What was going on is that a lot of the big distilleries in Kentucky and some big producers around the country were selling bulk bourbon, and people were buying it up and turning it into a Texas product. And it offended me because my family's got a lot invested in this. From the start, we said we were going to do it our way, and we were going to use Texas grains and from Texas farms. And all of a sudden, these products from outside the state of Texas flowed in, and I found it offensive.
I think one of the things, we've talked about this a lot, but it is a little bit offensive because for at least up until about 10 years ago when you guys started doing this, the name of Texas was more recognizable than the name of whiskey in Texas, right? Unlike, say Tennessee or Kentucky or someplace else, where bourbon is probably a bigger brand than the state of Kentucky, the state of Texas is bigger. It's bigger than life, right? So it's important for people to not just take the brand of Texas without actually doing something there.
So it was actually 15 years ago, believe it or not, when we started this crazy thing. We did it illegally for about 3 years.
Oh, don't.
It's okay. The statute of limitations has expired. But then we got our federal permit in 2007. But the reality is sourced whiskey has been a thing in this country for hundreds of years. Sourced whiskey is not a bad thing. But when you come out and you say your product's from Texas, if you say Texan to the bone in an advertisement, it really ought to be from Texas, don't you think?
I pretty much think so, yeah. We're kind of proud of our state, so we should stay there.
Let's be honest. Let's be candid. Let's be frank about it. Ever since, for 200 years in Kentucky, the distilleries have been helping each other out. Those businesses support each other. They're all friends. They're real close. They've got a great association up there. And I hope that Texas ends up the same way. And when we have products out on the market that consumers are being told are from Texas and they're not from Texas, that's deception, and that's not good for the industry.
So that's why we created the Certified Texas Whiskey Program, folks. So if you see this silver seal on a bottle, you're going to know that it's been grain to glass produced in the state of Texas. So we look like some people are coming in. Chris Dietzman, thank you for commenting. He's saying great bourbon by some great people. So
thank you.
So thank you. Dan, I can't tell you how glad I am to be doing this with you, frankly.
Hey, my pleasure.
And we got a lot of work to do ahead of us, but I'm happy to be doing this with you.
Got it started. We need y'all's help to continue it.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. And we're going to move on to Chris now, but thank you, Dan. Appreciate it so much. Coming on in is Chris Seals of Still Austin Whiskey Company. So he's going to be joining in just a second. We're good to go? Okay. Hey, Chris. How are you, man?
Sir, you doing okay?
I'm doing all right, man.
Great, very good.
It's a little warm over here under the lights, but we're working on it.
It's quite a crowd in here today.
So again, everybody we're starting to get some more people joining. So it looks like we have about a few people in there asking some questions. Looks like Vito just asked a question. Says, "Can't wait to get back to Austin. Take a nice long trail through this." Yeah. So we're announcing the launch of the Texas Whiskey Trail today. For those of you that are watching, go to texaswhiskey.org for the association. That's texaswhiskey.org. And if you go to texaswhiskeytrail.com, you'll see some very interesting options for you to be the first member. We're calling them the Trailblazers of the Texas Whiskey Trail. And you could, for $55, you can get a membership card. You're going to get a Glencairn glass, and you're also going to be able to visit every distillery that's a member of the Texas Whiskey Association and get a baseline tour for free. So, I mean, if right now we have 12 members, we're going to have more, but for 12 members averaging about $10 a tour, you're already making money. So please go to texaswhiskeytrail.com and order your Trailblazer membership if you can. So, Chris, you've started Still Austin, which is an amazing urban distillery, an amazing part of South Austin. What made you want to get into this business? Because it's not easy.
As you know, I'm totally unqualified to open a craft whiskey distillery. I really don't know the first thing about it, but I have learned a lot over the last couple of years. For me, like, the reason I did this was really my dad had wanted to start a craft whiskey distillery, and he asked me if I would help him, and I said sure. Really, truly thinking that we would not do that. I thought we would basically go and taste a lot of whiskeys together, have a good time, travel together, and in the end, kind of come to our senses and decide this is a terrible idea. But we ended up not doing that, and it's really been the most wonderful journey, I have to say. I think one of the things I really love about the Old Texas Whiskey Association is kind of elevating the sense of terroir, what we have here in Texas. That was a vision for us from the very beginning. Obviously, nothing that we've ever made has ever been a spirit that we purchased. We work directly with Texas farmers, and 100% of our grains come from farmers here in Texas. And so now that we're kind of getting the big thing going on for us, it's been now 5 years in the making, kind of building the distillery, getting us into operation. And the thing that we're really looking forward to this year is the launch of our first aged bourbon. It is young. It's not a straight bourbon, but we're doing something unusual with it. In addition to sourcing all our grains in Texas, and of course, everything is grain to glass. We hand make every step of the process, which we obviously have to be a member of the Texas Whiskey Association.
That's right.
But for us, one of the things that's really special, we're working a lot with a set of techniques called élevage. And are you familiar?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So for the viewers who may not be as familiar, and you have you worked a little bit with élevage techniques before?
I have not worked with them, but I know of it, and I know that the Nose is a really big proponent of that. Tell us who the Nose is.
Nancy Fraley is the Nose. Nancy, she's, I would say, probably won more awards for her bourbons that she's blended than anyone we know of worldwide. So she knows a little bit about how to pull together barrels and really marry them in a way that has a really high quality. One of the things we've learned from Nancy is these techniques that are they're borrowed from Armagnac, the oldest spirit in the world, aged spirit in the world. And one of the things I learned recently, it's the only spirit in the world that has a designation of quality. Like what I mean by that is like VS or VSOP for, like, VS is typically for cognac 2 years or 3 years for VSOP for higher quality of brandy, or straight as a quality of bourbon. But Armagnac is the only spirit in the world that has a designation of high quality of 1 year. And these élevage techniques are what help it to get there. So they're really a way of kind of maintaining that connection with the original grain while also working with the weather.
And for those of you that don't know, élevage is basically a slow proofing down of the barrel, correct? It's more than that, but that's part of it, right?
A slow water reduction is one élevage technique. Élevage, it technically means to raise. So it's like you're raising your kids. And it's this kind of philosophy where you really think through how to take this barrel from its birth through its maturity, working with the climate, the original grain, and you're trying to kind of bring all of that together and have a sense of taste of that place. And now that we're beginning to taste all of that together, one of the things I'm most excited about with this upcoming product is it has things that are very common to our palate in Texas. I think probably any place in the world we're known for having things that are sweet and spicy, like barbecue or Tex-Mex. And those flavors are really shining through in this initial aged bourbon product. And I think it's really because we've focused on what we have here. It's kind of one of these maybe surprises that shouldn't have been a surprise, because it really is kind of bringing together the things that come from our place.
That's right. Well, for those of you that are out there, let's grab that one as well. You can get Still Austin products now. Their aged stuff is about to hit the market this year.
That's correct.
But you can. This is what it looks like if you're looking for it. I can't tell you to go buy it because, please, we're an association. We're talking about quality, and we are kind of creating our own standard of quality as well with the Texas Whiskey Association Certified Texas Whiskey Program. And when you release your aged product, that'll absolutely be a certified Texas whiskey, and in fact, your other whiskeys are as well. And we just are more than excited to say that you are part of our team. You're part of this group. And frankly, man, for the trail, your facility is going to be an amazing part of the trail. So we're looking forward to it.
We couldn't be happier, and you've done a spectacular job. We're very, very, very happy to be part of it, and looking forward to everything that's ahead.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, man. All right, well, we're gonna move on now. I haven't seen too many questions yet, but I'm going to try to answer some questions. Chris, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Looks like we're going to bring Brandon from Lone Elm. Yeah, Lone Elm's one of our newer founding members. Let me see if I can get some questions in here. Thank you, Vito. Oh, Patrick Belangia, thank you. Who else we got joining here? For those of you that are kind of wondering where we are and why there's so much noise and stuff, this is the San Antonio Cocktail Conference, just to kind of give you an idea of how massive this place is. But we're going to have Brandon join us here in just a second. Hey, Brandon, come on down. What's that?
How do you want to do it?
Come sit right here next to me. You guys will squeeze in. And I'll redirect us a little bit. So we got Bill Wofford. Good to see you, man. Brandon Choate.
Brandon Choate.
Good to meet you. So just so you know, because of the noise of the room, you kind of have to talk right here to the middle of this spot, and I'll hold it for you.
Gotcha.
But so Lone Elm, this was a surprise to us. I think we first met at the Whiskeys of the World in Austin, Texas.
Houston, Texas.
And we have talked to you now a few different times. We went and visited your distillery. For those of you in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, it's in Forney, Texas. And it is an amazing, it's an amazing, beautiful drive on the way out there. It's also an amazing place just to go visit. But more importantly, the product that you guys are making is amazing and unique. And in my opinion, is breaking the mold for what a wheat whiskey is. So why don't you guys talk a little bit about why you got into this business and what your products are?
You want to start there, Bill? Well, basically we grow wheat on the Trinity River, on the East Fork of the Trinity near Dallas. I mean, it's wheat country, right? It's not corn country, so we use what's available. It's cattle feed there, and also can be used for whiskey, and then we can feed the spent mash, wheat mash back to the cow. So it's a nice little ecosystem. It's Texas.
Well, one of the things I was shocked by is how long you guys have been doing this. And you released when? When was your first release?
2012.
And 2012 is when you started, right?
Yeah, 2012 is when we started. The first batch was
the first release.
2013.
2013.
This is a 5-year whiskey.
Yeah, but these 5 years, I mean, you guys sat on these barrels for a long time. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, and especially a long time for Texas. And those of you that do not know, 4 to 5 years in Texas is, if you compare that to another region of the world, it's what, 20 years in Scotland, something like that?
Yes, the average temperature is much higher here. So every 10 degrees Celsius, the temperature increases, the reaction rate doubles. So whiskey ages here. Probably Kentucky's about 3 times faster than Scotland. We're about 2.5 times faster than Kentucky in aging.
So that means we can make a lot of whiskey really fast, folks.
Yeah.
But you guys decided, and this is interesting for a wheat whiskey, you guys decided to go straight, at least, go straight on everything. And you have a 4-year and a 5-year single barrel, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And like I said, that's a long time, but it did something different to the wheat whiskey that you don't see in many other wheat whiskeys. What do you think it did?
I mean, every product you do comes out based on your ingredients, your yeast, your aging, your water. So, it's our little ecosystem. It's different than what everybody else's ecosystem is. So it comes out different. And wheat's typically an additive, corn wheated bourbon or rye bourbon or whatever. But so it's a little more difficult to do straight wheat or straight rye because of the grain itself. So it takes a little extra care, but it's worth it.
So like I said, I know you wanted to be a distiller and you wanted to produce a great whiskey, but what made you want to get into this business? Because it's hard. It's hard work.
I've been in the food and beverage business for a long time, and I know I feel like I just got the call from Bill, and the thing that attracted me was like we're in a different category than anybody else, pretty much.
Absolutely.
And it's just it's amazing like what our product is showcasing and what kind of connoisseur is really attracted to our whiskey.
Yeah. Well, these will both be certified Texas whiskeys. So for those of you that want to check it out, here we go. Lone Elm. These are certified Texas whiskeys. You guys joined us near the end of the year here in 2018. But you're a founding member, and they will be also founding members of the Texas Whiskey Trail. Looks like we got some more folks here. So, folks, feel free to ask your questions. If you have any questions for the Lone Elm guys, let me know, and I'll try to read it right now. Okay, we got about a minute before somebody else is going to join us. But
we're very excited about the Texas Bourbon Trail, Texas Whiskey Trail, right?
Yeah, Texas Whiskey Trail.
Yeah.
TexasWhiskeyTrail.com, folks. It's live now, and it's going to be. I said this before, but for those now that are listening, you go to TexasWhiskeyTrail.com. $55 gets you basically a free tour at every Texas Whiskey Trail member distillery. So you can travel the state. We have. Some in DFW. We have a couple we have NKT in the Gulf Coast and Houston area. We got a ton in the Central Texas area. So we're trying to grow this trail throughout the state so that you guys can all go and visit your favorite distilleries, because it's going to be hard to hit that many distilleries in the state of Texas. It's a big place. It's a lot more like Scotland in terms of like Speyside and Highland and the Islas and everything like that.
Great tradition there for going distillery to distillery, right, and the different flavors.
It's gonna happen with us too. You know, it's gonna happen in Texas. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, so that's why we decided to make it a membership card. So you guys pay $55 to be a Trailblazer. That's going to get you a card. That's going to get you into every distillery, and for those distilleries, they're going to treat you right. They're going to let you see the good tour, and you will also get a T-shirt and a Glencairn glass. And your own little membership card that you'll be able to use. So the great thing about this is you get the membership once a year, and you get to visit every distillery. You don't have to go every this, that, and the other. So, guys, thank you so much for being members. Thank you so much for being founders of the Whiskey Trail. And go
Right here.
look at this
Buy
stuff.
it, drink it, love it.
Yeah, you can say that. That's
Yeah.
good. You do that. Thanks, guys.
You got it, man.
I appreciate it. All right, we are now going to be joined by the man himself. Robert Licorice. Look at these. Why don't you show those beautiful bottles to the camera there, folks? Oh, look at that. Okay, so this is Iron Root Republic, Denison, Texas, our northernmost member.
Guarding the northern border.
Yeah, you're at the wall.
That's right.
Should we build a wall between Oklahoma and Texas, maybe?
There's a wall of whiskey barrels already. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know, Iron Root is making several different types of bourbons, several different types of whiskeys that you guys are working on. What made you get into this business?
So I actually graduated from law school and then decided I didn't want to be a lawyer. So I ended up just kind of doing a run around working for several different distilleries and kind of found my way into the brandy world and fell in love with grape brandies and studied under Hubert Germain Raban and Nancy Fraley. And from there, started working with our friends down in Waco a little bit. They trained me up back in the day, like 2010, 2011 on whiskey making in Texas. And
That's Balcones, by the way.
yeah, in case you're wondering. And then Jonathan and I decided to strike out on our own and started building our facility up in Denison.
Yeah, now you mentioned Nancy Fraley. This is the second time we've mentioned her because Chris, it's still Austin. She's working with him as well. She's known as the nose in the industry, and she's doing some amazing work in both of these places. But that's a pretty big sign of respect that somebody of her quality is willing to work with two Texas whiskey members, and there's something special going on down here.
And she doesn't take on a whole lot of clients, and so you really have to be focused on quality, which is, I mean, if you look for us, that's one of the big things that we're using 53 and 63-gallon barrels, using all sorts of different types of oak, from European oak, French oak, some American oak with different level chars and toasts, and it's, she really, that's what she puts into a distillery, is really looking for that high quality, especially on the barrel side.
So I saw a question actually from asking where's Lone Elm. That's in Forney, Texas, just east of Dallas. We're also looking. Let's see who else has joined. Okay, so we got a lot of folks starting to join. But tell us a little bit about what's your latest releases, and because Harbinger came out late last year.
Yeah, the Harbinger line came out in October. So that hit Texas about November. A lot of the cast strength for Texas, unfortunately, is already sold out except for at the distillery. We still have a few bottles left up there. We had Hubris that just came out in December, which is our purple corn cast strength whiskey. And that's really, really popular. And so that's going to be hitting stores around Texas probably in the next couple of weeks or so. It should have just started hitting there. What's exciting for us is we just sent out the Harbinger for this year out to the rest of the country. So if you're outside of Texas and you're near Total Wine, you should be seeing it probably beginning of February, mid-February, starting to hit stores around the country.
Great. So be sure to be looking out for that big old Superman R. I guess that's what you guys call it, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we were launching today is the Texas Whiskey Trail. And you guys are going to be the first northern member of the trail. So all you Okies up there, come into Texas and hit the trail, starting with Iron Root. But what else? What are you excited about with the Texas Whiskey Trail and the association?
I'm excited about all the different opportunities that are coming up. It's allowing a lot more collaboration to happen within the Texas whiskey industry. So you're going to start seeing some really special blends between the different distilleries. There should be one coming in March that definitely keep your eye out on with the Texas Whiskey Festival. April, not March. That's been a really exciting project I've been working on. So again, there's going to be some specialty bottlings that are going to be for trail members coming up too. They're really excited, talking with what the guys in Waco, Balcones have going on with that. It's a really exciting time for trail members and put special products out there for them.
Yeah, so for those of you that are kind of curious, the trail is going to allow you access to the distilleries, but we're also from now until April 19th at the Texas Whiskey Festival, we're having a pre-sale of what we're calling the Trailblazer entry point for membership. So for $55, you can get to see all these distilleries. This is going to be about $100 or more after April 19th. So make sure you can do it now for the next 3 months. And while all of these blends are being formulated, you might be able to get a try of some of those things later. So if you're into whiskey and you're a Texan, there's no better place for you to be than on the Texas Whiskey Trail. So go to texaswhiskeytrail.com. So tell us again what you think you're going to. What do you feel like is the next path in Texas whiskey? Like, what do you think? Like, we're talking about collaborations. I'm not asking you to reveal any secrets or anything like that, but what do you think is the next step?
Well, I mean, you're going to start seeing a lot more variety coming out from Texas whiskeys. I know for us, we've had some, I would say, some more secretive projects that we haven't released yet that are coming. Again, like Gretchen and Josh are going to be coming up to the distillery this weekend. They might get a little preview then for it. But we've got this spring coming out with some really specialty cast finishings and also kind of some specialty projects with whiskey that you haven't seen before out of the different members in the Texas Whiskey.
Yeah, so we just did Lone Elm, and we've now talked with you, and so you're kind of the North Texas contingent, but there's one missing here today who couldn't join us. Reed Huddleston at Deep Ellum Distillery. Not Deep Ellum Vodka is the brand that you can see on there, but there's some whiskey that is going to come out of that place. And, man, I'll let you talk about it a little bit.
So Reed and his team down there, Reed's an amazing distiller coming out of work, graduated from school in Scotland for distilling, worked in Canada, and is really bringing some different ideas to the Texas whiskey scene. He's going to be distilling a lot of different beers and different stuff down at Deep Ellum. And just some of the whiskeys, I've tasted some of the white spirit kind of that they've come up with, and it's just magnificent. I'm really, really excited to see what's coming. So the Texas single malts are coming. You've had Balcones and Andalusia leading the way. There's some more single malts coming in the not too distant future, and it's going to be some really wonderful stuff.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the trail. Thank you for being a part. He's actually the secretary of the association, so he's an officer. So he's got, to sign things, right? So speaking of single malts, we got to get Ty Phelps from Andalusia here. But thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it. And check out these. Looks like Ty is going to be joining us now. Folks, again, make sure, ask some questions on the stream, folks. And this is Ty Phelps with Andalusia Whiskey Company in Blanco, Texas. Ty, how you doing, man?
Good, Spencer. How are you?
I'm really good. Oh, we're getting photobombed here.
Hey, try not to drop any F-bombs, okay?
Oh, fart.
That's interesting. We were just talking with Robert about the kind of the culture that has formed around the Whiskey Association a little bit. And I'm going to get into your whiskey here in a second, but I want to continue on that thought. There's some collaborations happening here. You collaborate with Dan on your barrels.
Absolutely, yeah. We use his barrels, his ex-bourbon barrels, for a lot of our whiskeys that aren't appropriate for a brand new barrel. And so there's a lot of back and forth going, especially in the barrel department right now, and hopefully more in the future.
Yeah, so you do nothing but single malts at this time, correct?
That's correct. Yep, all single malts, all grain to glass. We do Irish and Scotch-style whiskeys primarily.
Yeah. So that's another thing I think folks will understand more about Texas whiskey as we get out there more and as our industry grows up a little bit, is that we're talking about a global perspective of whiskey that is arriving in Texas, and then we're doing something different and unique that is unique to our climate, unique to our terroir, all those things. So what is unique about your product? And there's a very unique Texas product that's right here in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. We have products that are some are tradition and some are innovation. Our peated single malt is very traditional, the one that will age in Dan's barrels. But something like this is all about innovation.
This is Andalusia Striker single malt, certified by the Texas Whiskey Association.
So we lovingly call this our Texas Scotch. We've taken something traditional and well-known like Scotch, and we brought it home and we made it our own. Instead of peat, which isn't normally a rural Texas thing, we used hardwoods to smoke our grain, just like you would barbecue. So oak and mesquite and applewood. So you get these killer campfire and brisket and barbecue notes. We also age it in a brand new barrel, like a lot of American whiskey is. So kind of, like I said, bringing something traditional and making it our own.
And I've also tasted a special release that was finished in a treaty oak rum cask. That's
Yes.
another founding member of the association.
Further collaboration, exactly.
And that is exceptional, absolutely exceptional.
Thank you.
Any sneak peeks on what you're working on in the future?
Gosh, I know we're called Andalusia Whiskey Company, but we might be branching out and doing some tiny things, little fun projects like brandy or rum. Also looking at doing a lot of more fun barrel finishing and cask finishing.
Well, one of the things that I'm most excited about for you guys in Blanco is the Texas Whiskey Trail is launching today. I know I'm beating the drum here, folks, but go to texaswhiskeytrail.com. You can sign up and order your $55 membership for the first year. That'll make you a trailblazer from now until April 19th. But the trail, the heart of the trail is almost Blanco, Texas. We have 2 members right down there.
Right in the heart of the hill country, and there'll only be more. It's, we're right in the middle of the wine country, so it just makes sense with tourism and everything.
Yeah, so, and it's also one of, if not, man, I don't want to say the best, but it's right up there in terms of the most amazing, beautiful tasting room. Your wife has built a library. Tell everybody a little bit about that.
Yeah, we built out a building and had all intention on splitting it equally between production and tasting room, and then the tasting room just took over. So we've got a lot of great space for our guests. A lot of cool leather lounge seating. We have our own library where you can enjoy a whiskey. Upstairs game area with cards and dominoes and a really nice outside patio. We're right in the middle of a big 120-acre ranch. So it's a beautiful scene out in the hill country.
Talk a little bit about the sustainability, because when I visited you that day, you guys were cooking the grain, and you were getting the spent grains, and it was a cold day, and you just pulled all that grain out and threw it out to your cattle. They're right in the back. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're right on site on a working farm, and so we've had sheep and cattle, chickens, llama for many years now, and the distillery is a new addition to that. It's been a great win for our farm. We're buying a lot less feed, which is great. We're not importing that feed. Our animals are getting much healthier feed that we're providing from the distillery. We also get a lot of great wastewater that's allowing us to irrigate our pastures. It's just been a big win for our farm, and we're able to be a zero production waste distillery, not send anything out to a landfill based upon the production.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Ty. We're proud. He's our treasurer of the association, so we're proud to have you on and proud to have you part of the trail. So thank you so much. Cheers, everybody. And now we are here with Dennis from Ranger Creek. Got another board member here. We're just going through the board one by one. Dennis, Ranger Creek, we're here in San Antonio at the San Antonio Cocktail Conference. You are our founding member distillery in San Antonio. So talk a little bit about why you're here, why you got into this business, and what you're producing.
Well, we're excited about the cocktail conference. I think we've done this for 5 or 6 years now here in San Antonio. And since we started here, this is like one of the bigger and more fun events for us since it's right in our hometown. We started this about 9 years ago because there was no production brewery in San Antonio, and there was no one making Texas bourbon that we knew of at the time. So it's just been a really exciting journey for us from that stage where like there wasn't a Texas whiskey category to speak of. So today, when you have a whole room full of Texas distilleries making really good products.
Yeah, absolutely. Now your accent doesn't sound like you're from Texas originally. Where are you from?
Born and raised in Sweden, if you can believe it. I came here as quick as I could. I've been here for about 20 years. But the accent is just what it is.
Well, I think that's an important thing because one of the things we were talking about with, Deep Ellum has a lot of global knowledge from beer brands in Germany and different types of things. You're bringing some knowledge in from around the world, and that's one of the things I think is interesting about Texas whiskey is it's pulling all of these traditions of whiskey from Kentucky, from Scotland, from Tennessee, and all over the world and bringing it into Texas. And what are you hoping to do with taking lots of traditions but also producing something that is truly Texan?
I think for us, and I get some of this we pulled from what we've done on the brewery side as well, right? So one example, we brewed a beer where we smoked 4 different Texas woods that we used to smoke some of the grain for our brew. And we've been able to do similar things on the whiskey side where you can take unique aspects of what makes Texas unique and bring that to life within your products, right? One of my favorites today, just to mention something, I guess, real, is one of our single barrels or our rimfire, our single malt, that we've finished in Texas red wine barrels.
Oh, really?
And that's just there's so many things that we can do to make unique, delicious Texas products that will I think, speak to within Texas and beyond.
What do you have? What do you have right here? Because this is you guys have been doing small bottle releases for a while, but last year you got some more.
That's our flagship Texas bourbon. So this is our straight bourbon. We use 70% Texas corn. Rye is the flavor grain. This is one that's close to my heart because we played around a lot with it back before we started making bourbon, just to realize how you make a traditional bourbon, but take advantage of the things that we have going for us in Texas, with heat being a unique aspect of that. Right? So we find really good barrels. We find a proof point, a 96 proof that I love, and it just speaks to a big, bold Texas bourbon that we're really proud of.
Well, thank you so much for being a founding member. Thank you for being on the trail. For those of you folks that are listening, this is going to be your San Antonio representative of the Texas Whiskey Trail.
Want to see us, guys?
Yeah. And where are you located again?
We're in the northeast part of San Antonio, so about 15 minutes from here. We're right by 410 and 35.
Excellent. Well, thank you, sir. We're going to move on. We got a couple more folks here. We got a very special guest about to join us, the bearded man himself. And we just went through the board, basically. So we got the board here represented, capped off here by by our founding president of the Texas Whiskey Association, Jared Hempstead. Jared, thank you so much.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for having us.
So we got a few folks on here. If you got your questions for Jared, please ask them now. So let's see. Folks, I know Gretchen, some of you guys are on there. Feel free to ask as many questions as you got. Jared, I talked to everybody, and everybody has said some pretty amazing things about what Texas whiskey is. A lot of it goes back to what you guys, Dan Garrison, a few others who really started this thing off. It's only been it's been less than 20 years that we've been doing this, but everybody looks to you and Dan and a few others as kind of the trailblazers of that time, and now we're actually launching the Texas Whiskey Trail. So how does that feel to you?
I mean, it's exciting as people that have always been more focused on making, to be 10 years in and finally feel like we're just beginning to get a glimpse of the kind of whiskey this state and all the various regions within it wants to make, how it wants to go, and learning how to kind of get in that flow with it, not fighting it, learning about it, understanding it, so that we can work together to try and, make something memorable and distinctive. And obviously, if you had talked to me and Dan years ago, to see this volume of legitimate, grain to glass, made here in state, even our seed and grain suppliers starting to work on varieties that are drought resistant and heat resistant, that we can get barley that's from here and all that. I mean, I don't think any of us would have believed that we would be here in that amount of time. So it's pretty exciting.
That's something thank you for reminding me, because we also just had MBS Seed based in Denton, Texas, and Tex Malt, a malting company in Fort Worth, Texas, have joined on as allied trade members of the association. So we have our 12 distillery founders and we have our 2 allied trade founders so far, and we're going to grow. I mean, I don't think the market is going to be big enough for lots of people, but it's been important to you from the beginning. I know that quality is taken with as much seriousness as the business side of it. And you mentioned something to me one time about once you let this, and by the way, for those of you that don't know, this is the Texas Rye, 100 proof Balcones Texas Rye, one of the most amazing ryes I've tried. But you said that once this bottle leaves your distillery, that the story is now in the hands of whoever buys it, and that you have a responsibility to those people. Talk a little bit about that, because it was a beautiful sentiment.
Yeah, I mean, especially once you've been doing something for 10 years, as passe as it might sound, to have somebody come in and say, man, my dad was drinking Jack Black on the rocks for 30 years. That's what his dad drank every night. That was nightcap. He's watching the news, checking out the ESPN, Sports Center, doing that and going to bed until I gave him Baby Blue, for example. I mean, this is a real conversation I've had. And now that's it. You made a switch away from family history. That's massive. And I think there's a responsibility now. We make something that gets to be there at births, christenings, baptisms, marriages, wakes. and that should be humbling for people when you get to hear those stories and that feedback comes back to you. If that doesn't like fill you with a sense of responsibility, yeah, it feels like stewardship at this point.
It is.
When you're not working on a new product. If you're working on a new product, it's kind of a different animal. But things you've been doing for a long time, if you're doing your job well and people like what you do, it's going to end up being a part of people's lives. And the things they've loved about it, from one experience or 10 years of experience with it, I feel like now you have to honor that. Even if you would like for it to maybe go in a different direction, like, well, it's not just yours anymore. It belongs to all of us. And yeah, you just have to be thoughtful and respectful of people that fell in love with it that you've never even met, and events that are significant in their life that it got to be a part of. You know, you wish you were there. It could be a fly on the wall, but you were there in a way. And I think there's some responsibility that comes with that.
I do too. And one of the things we've all talked about when talking about what we want the Texas Whiskey Trail to be is it's not a place for whiskey snobs to just come in and just have whiskey. We want families. We want men, women, children to be able to go to distilleries. I was at your 10-year party, your 10-year anniversary party, and just the amount of children, the amount of families that were there just to enjoy the day was staggering. And it didn't have anything to do with whiskey at that point. It just was, whiskey was the foil for people to get together, and that's what we want the trail to be.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a community, you know. I mean, not everybody even drinks whiskey. Like, who cares? I mean, obviously for the profit loss statement, I'd love a lot more people to drink whiskey, but I've got things I don't like eating and drinking. Like, so it's not even about converting someone from a different category. Yeah, I think it's. I think you said it already. It's families, it's relationships. Even our place in the community doesn't have to be rooted in which aspects of our immediate community or even whiskey drinkers.
That's right.
It's not that relevant.
Well, let's get into some
questions here.
Yeah, there are some. Looks like Jeffrey Patron says, "What's the goal of Brimstone Redo or the Redux? What is the likelihood of other Balcones releases getting a Redux version? Big fan of the Mirador."
So the Redux was, if anybody remembers our 5th anniversary Brimstone Resurrection, it was a single barrel, and the lore behind that, which is actually true, is one of our guys. We didn't have agitators on our old still at the old building, and so you had to stir the corn mash as it was coming up to temperature. And if you didn't quite pay attention close enough, it could burn. It did pretty badly. And the spirit had an absolute kind of dark roasted, burnt, smoky note to it. And the only thing we could figure out to do with it was run it through the brimstone process and add more layers of smoke. Ended up being Whiskey Magazine's American Whiskey of the Year as a single barrel. By the time that happened, it was long gone. And so we've been trying to figure out how to incorporate that profile without making a massive mess. It requires a lot of man hours to clean a still. So instead we dark roasted a portion of the corn before we distilled it. So we kind of burned it on the front end so we wouldn't have to burn it in the still itself. Yeah.
Okay. Can I bring in Winston real quick here since we're on Balcones? Hey, Winston. Winston. Come in for a second. Scoot on in. So this is Winston Edwards. We're gonna be quick here, but Winston, I wanted to get you in here because this has been a long discussion that you and I and Jared have been having for years now.
6 years running, I think. Yeah, since Whiskeys of the World 2014, maybe. Yeah.
2013. Yeah, I think so. So what I think what I think the world needs to know is this man right here has a lot to do with the Whiskey Trail forming. A lot to do with the Whiskey Association forming. It was a conversation that kind of happened every few months or so. But what does it feel like now that there's an actual thing?
It feels amazing, and I think the timing really worked out for us. I mean, we talked about it for so long, but now I feel like we kind of did it the right time, the right place, and we got the right people on board too.
Yeah, absolutely. 10 years ago, you asked if all these folks would be in the same room, hugging and grabbing each other's necks and stuff like that. That doesn't happen then, but it does now.
Yeah.
So what are you excited about for the Whiskey Trail?
I'm excited to bring out the authenticity and the honesty of all of our members and really showcase that to the broader public, not just here in Texas, but abroad as well. I'm looking forward to the trail really getting activated and getting people down there and turning it into a thing, turning it into something that people can do in Texas. They can travel around, they can see some really great products that are being made here, and hopefully just lift us all up at the same time.
Well, one question I got here before we go is, will Balcones be doing any more non-whiskey spirits like Rumble?
Oh, man. We don't have a whole lot in the works right now. We've talked about expanding the rum line a little bit. But anybody who follows our portfolio knows we already have a little bit of a problem self-editing even our whiskey line. So
yeah, I thought last year was the only year that you guys were going to do monthly releases, but no.
We had 21 individual labels last year, and it was the 10th anniversary, so it seemed okay. And this year, I think it's 2 or 3 more. So there are some more whiskeys coming. The possibility of the rum line extending a little bit might happen. Brandies have been talked about a little bit. We have the tiniest amount of fig brandy laid down that probably never see the light of day. But who knows?
Well, for those of you that are Balcones fanboys, your wallet's about to get a lot lighter if you have that many labels in process. So thank you, everybody, for asking questions. Thank you, guys, for doing this. Appreciate it. Thank you, Winston. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to keep this rolling here. We got Davin from Real Spirits going to join us. Thanks, guys. All right, folks, keep asking questions. Balcones. If you have any questions for Real Spirits, this is Davin. Davin Topol, how are you? I always screw up. Is it Topol or Topol?
It's Topol.
Topol.
Yeah.
It's like, it's what I thought, like Topo Chico, but with an L.
David, Gavin, Davin, it's Topol.
Yeah. So if you can't tell, beards are kind of a big deal for some reason. Oh, that just died. Could you just center this one a little bit? There we go. So Davin.
Yes, sir.
Where were you before coming to Texas?
I was actually in Park City, Utah. Lived there. I moved there via Minnesota, where I did 21 years of my life and where I'm originally from. Moved to Utah, and I spent 12 years just kind of doing a little bit of everything there, from bartending, making snow. I was a firefighter, and then I landed into a distilling job over at High West, and I worked there for 2.5 years.
So for those of you that are fans of High West Distillery, this guy had something to do with that. But why Texas? Why come to Texas?
My wife and I moved here for the simple fact that we were having our first child. Never thought I'd move away from Utah. Park City, Utah is beautiful. It's gorgeous. But when it came down to it, we wanted to be closer to family. And so her family's in Texas, mine being in Minnesota. We're not going back to the cold. So we decided on Texas, got down here and realized Texas is a lot like Minnesota. That Minnesota nice is all the way down here, down in the South Texas, down in the South in Texas here. And
so you got like a month or two up there, but you got like 6 or 8 months here.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So when we moved here, didn't have a job for the first 2 years. I found a job within a month. Or I did have a job in the first 2 years, but the first 2 years I was working for a temporary housing company, and it took me 2 years to get back in the distilling industry.
So tell people where you're at now.
So right now I'm over at Real Spirits Distilling Company. That's the one. We are a distilling company that makes whiskey and gin from our beer styles that Real Ale Brewing Company has been making for over 23 years.
Right. So if you're a fan of go through the list: Fireman's Ford, Devil's Backbone,
Axis IPA, Hans Pils. We're actually making whiskey from the Devil's Backbone and the Real Heavy Scotch Ale. 3-time gold medal winning beer from the Great American Beer Festival. It also makes a very great whiskey. So these whiskeys, these beer styles are made the way they normally would be, minus the hops. So it's very important that we explain to the people that while it's made from our beer styles, there's no hops in our whiskey. We don't care for it. We're traditionalists. These beer styles, while they're great hopped, they make an even better whiskey unhopped.
And I can attest to that. These whiskeys are fantastic, absolutely amazing. You made your second batch release last year, yes. Right? So that's and for those of you saw Ty Phelps on earlier, he was the original distiller at Real Spirits, and he's just 3 miles up the road. So like I said, Blanco is becoming kind of a little bit of the heart of the whiskey trail.
Yeah.
So you guys collaborate, you guys talk all the time, you're just down the road from each other, but you're producing amazingly different products, and you're only 3 miles separated. So talk about why that is so unique in Texas.
Well, the idea of us distilling whiskey from our beer styles, again, the brewers making the beer the way they normally would, means that we're lautering off all of our grain from our mash bills. So I'm actually getting a clear beer, and we're also utilizing the same yeast strains that we would be using for that Belgian triple, the Devil's Backbone. We're using an ale yeast for our real heavy Scotch ale, and these yeast strains really do make a big difference in your final product. And so between the yeast strains, the lautering of the grain matter off of our beer style contributes a smooth texture to our whiskey, as well as unique characteristics that make 2 different styles of whiskey, which I am then combining together in a ratio that complement each other's flavors to produce a one singular product, which is our signature whiskey.
Absolutely. And you're among the first to put stickers on the bottle. Again, for those of you that are looking at it, certified Texas whiskey. You can find this at a couple places around Austin, but it's gonna grow.
Yeah, right now we just started distributing just before Christmas, and the distribution started with a couple of restaurants and bars in the Houston area. We had put together a barrel select program. The Houston Bourbon Consortium picked up a barrel, and they're sprinkling that throughout their different restaurant groups in the Houston area. Cottonwood in Houston has a barrel select. The Grackle in Austin did a barrel select with us. They actually chose their barrel, proofed their barrel. They chose it at cask strength, which was 120 proof. Came out phenomenally smooth. Then those certain Class Bs will put them on the shelves every here and there. So while they're hard to find, they are out there on the shelves, but we really wanted to focus on getting our whiskeys out to the bars and restaurants that we have a close relationship with the beer company.
Well, we're going to wrap up because we're going to have Nate from Treaty Oak here join us. But the other thing you need to know about this guy is that he is an amazing fly fisher. You do expeditions on the weekends.
Right.
In fact, my dad and I are going to be going out with you here pretty soon. So, Dad, if you're watching, this is the guy that's going to take us.
Right.
So thank you so much, man.
Absolutely.
Happy to have you on the trail and on the team. Nate. Hey, Sarah. Move that light just back over a little bit. Hi, how are you, sir?
What's happening, man? What's happening?
So, Nate, it has been a long day, but we got quite a few people here watching. Oh, look, Travis Whitmire joined. Travis, hey, man, by the way, Travis Whitmire's Distilling in Houston. They are the first non-member to certify their product, and they are going to have their white label products certified by the Texas Whiskey Association. Thank you so much for joining with us, Travis, and hope everything's going well with you today. So, Nate, Treaty Oak, you guys have been at your ranch for how long now?
So at the ranch since September 2015 is when that property opened up for the public.
And how long have you guys been distilling total?
We've been distilling since 2006. So the fourth one's in Texas to get a DSP permit, and the first one's to take a raw ingredient and ferment and actually craft and make alcohol from scratch.
So this is really the founding fathers of Texas whiskey right here. I mean, we got
it was rum. You know, if
it was rum
go back in time, you know, we fermented rum to make the first grain in glass Texas product, but it was rum, not whiskey.
But whiskey was part of your plan from the beginning, right?
To go into the whiskey world. Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yeah, so why don't you talk about this brand new bottle, absolutely gorgeous, winning all sorts of awards. Tell us a little bit about it.
So we've been working on this bourbon for about 5-6 years, trying to figure out the exact right formula on what you want to do to achieve a good product with all of the variables that we have, you know, local to Texas. So Texas grain, the aging process here is different, of course. So we went through about 3 or 4 years of different mash bills, different size barrels, different level char barrels, different types of water, different barrel proofing, you know, all those variables we wanted to explore for a little while and just kind of figure that out. And but you don't know what you have for a couple of years. So we laid down probably 50 or 60 barrels over the course of a couple of years, and really landed on a good weeded bourbon here. And so Ghost Hill Bourbon is our grain in glass, of course, certified product. That's a #1 yellow dent food grade corn that we grow up in the Panhandle. and Barton Springs Mill. Actually, James Brown is brokers that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's really a neat guy, and great farm products too. So we also bring in non-GMO wheat that's also grown in Texas, organically farmed, generational farmers. These guys are been doing this stuff for decades up near the Lubbock, Amarillo area, a little crossover into Mexico, but not much. And we bring that grain down to Texas. We ferment it, we distill it, we age it in 53-gallon toasted char, level 3 char barrels for 2 to 2.5 years to come out with our Ghost Hill product. Go in the barrel about 115 proof. We find that that's a really nice proof to age well in Texas. Keep our brick house doors open. We hose them down with water every couple times a week in the summertime to keep them as much humidity as possible and cool them out as much as possible. We don't want to get the whiskey too hot, so we found that also kind of really plays well into the overall finished product. And so we're 5 years in the making, but just released this past fall in September. So it's been a long, as you guys know, man. Anybody in the whiskey world knows you gotta wait a while. And wait patiently, but that's just part of the process. So, we get the benefit of some heat swings and some coolness swings and that whole big temperature swing in Texas, specifically Austin too. But you really can't replace time with the process. You've got to go the distance and make it work.
So two more questions for you. One's around certification, because one of the things, the certified product or the certified stickers that you guys see here, in fact, you can see it here on the bottle, that certified Texas whiskey logo means that it's grain to glass in the state. That's to make it easy for the market to understand. These are the products that were made in Texas by Texans, for Texans, or for everybody, but by Texans. To be a member of the Texas Whiskey Association, you got to be telling the truth on every product that you call a whiskey. You can't have any product out there that you're saying is a Texas whiskey but pulled in from another state. You guys, kind of the forefathers of that with your red-handed. So tell a little bit about that.
Oh, absolutely. So it was about 2013 when we decided, after watching a lot of brands put bottles on the shelf, some grain to glass, some being sourced, some being honest about where it was being sourced, some not, we decided we wanted to go ahead and get a bottle of bourbon on the shelf. We were making our own, but we weren't ready yet. We weren't happy with it yet. So we came up with the idea to go source and go find some really unique barrels of bourbon, bring them back and blend them together and get it on the shelf. And have some fun with it, make it its own little project, its own little unique element to it. And we sat down at a table one day, and I remember the day like it was yesterday. We made the decision, what do we do with this? What do we call it? How do we brand it? What direction do we go with it? And it was very, very important to us to make sure that the end user understood that this product was not something that we made. We knew that we made our own. We had whiskey that we were laying down that we were making, but for this particular product, it just kind of made sense to us to be really upfront and honest about it. And the red-handed name, of course, is indicative of you caught us red-handed stealing someone else's bourbon. And but tell people the story about it and make that its own story behind that brand. So it's kind of a vintage thing. Right now we're on our second rev of red-handed, which is juice from Kentucky, from Ozzie Tyler, and from Davis Distilling in Virginia. I'm a 2 and a 4 year that we blend high rye, high barley content. Very different than the wheated bourbon of Ghost Hill. Very different flavor profile. So we kind of wanted to go with both of those guardrails, and red-handed allows us to do that while making Ghost Hill for full time on our big stills. But in about 6 months, maybe 4 to 6 months, that red-handed will change again. It'll be a different blend of different bourbons that we blend out and source. We're actually going to Kentucky next week to tie up some contracts and go spot buy some stuff. And those are the fun days at the office, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and here's the thing, guys, is sourcing isn't a dirty word. It only becomes a dirty word when you lie about the source, or when you're deceiving the customer about the source. And you guys have not been doing that. You guys have been a truth teller from the beginning. You're telling your own story, and you're telling it in the right way. So thank you so much. We're excited to have you on the trail. You guys have an amazing ranch out in Dripping Springs. So thank you so much for being a part of this.
Love you guys.
Thanks, everybody. Looks like we got Nico Martini, San Antonio Cocktail Conference. Come on in. Hey, buddy. Is this light completely out? Okay.
Hi. How's it going?
How are you?
I'm here. It ends tomorrow. Okay.
All right. So for those, looks like we got a few folks on, mostly the Texas Whiskey Tribe. I should have mentioned Daniel Whittington, our other founding board member, couldn't be here today, but the Whiskey Tribe is here in full force. We got a few tribe members, so we'll be talking with him at some point again soon. So tell everybody who you are and what you're doing with the cocktail conference.
So my name's Nico Martini. I am the Director of Industry Outreach for the San Antonio Cocktail Conference. So basically what that became was I led the mentor sessions, and I helped streamline the seminar process and asked a bunch of friends to kind of talk about specific things. So lots of curation. I presented on the history of Texas cocktails yesterday. I wrote a book called Texas Cocktails.
It's an amazing book, folks. You got to go check it out.
It's cool. Yeah, it's really cool. It's basically what it kind of turned into was a snapshot of everything that was happening in 2017, like the summer of 2017. And so like the book starts, you go through the intro, and then literally the first thing that I talk about is the Harveys for Harvey wall banger,
right?
The fundraiser that's because of the hurricane. And so like the entire process of writing the book, it was crazy, man. Like talking to folks that it was like, I know I'm not your priority. I'm really sorry. I have a deadline. Obviously there's other stuff. I'm going to try to send you money and things, but like, can I get that recipe? So, yeah,
right.
You know,
well,
but yes, so that's basically it.
And the name of the book for everybody is
Texas Cocktails.
Texas Cocktails. It's a small book. It's a beautiful TexasCocktails.com. Yeah. So speaking of websites, we have launched our own website, TexasWhiskey.org.
Yeah.
For those of you that are looking for it, we're also on TexasWhiskeyTrail.com that just launched today, and that's part of the reason we're here.
Yeah.
Is we're launching the Whiskey Trail.
Absolutely.
Tell a little bit about what you think about the Whiskey Trail. What's it going to be?
So,
what are you excited about?
Okay, so working on the book, I had the opportunity to basically meet everybody, and it's you can get lots of conversations when you're like, I want to put you in a book, so let's have a little conversation. The thing about Texas whiskey is that we're so new to it, but to see the direction that everything's been moving over the past like 3-4 years, like, I mean, even if Dan had stuck the first barrel in a cave and was still waiting on it, it wouldn't be 12 years old yet. So like we have lots of time to figure lots of things out, and seeing the evolution of the juices coming out of this state is absolutely incredible. The whiskey scene in Texas, it's getting to the point, and this is why I love what you're doing. It's getting to the point that it is absolutely going to be a tourism draw. And there are things that have been happening, like Treaty Oaks Massive Ranch and what they decided to invest as far as like creating an experience for the people. Even the folks at Firestone Robinson and what they're doing up in Dallas with the golf course, like it's really, really cool. It's one of those things that if you flew into DFW, you could go visit them. You could go up to see Iron Root. You could go down to Balcony. Like you could have some of this amazing whiskey in a very it's doable now
in a very tight region. I mean, I compared a little.
Hill country, like the Hill Country's its own thing, and
it's like its own Speyside. Like I kind of compare it to Scotland because Speyside, for those of you that don't know, like Speyside is like distillery,
yeah.
And in Central Texas, we're gonna have 6 along Highway 290.
Yeah.
Right. Like just like boom, 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 one after another. In North Texas, we're gonna have at least 3. We have Iron Root, Lone Elm, Deep Elm. In Houston, we have MKT, and we hope to have more here in Houston in the future. But there's going to be regions. And I was talking to Travis Whitmire. You know, their proof goes down.
Yep.
Everybody else's proof goes up because it's humid in Houston.
Yeah.
There's climatological differences between the areas of Texas.
It's really interesting because I mean we have everything. Like this is, you can literally age in whatever environment you want to. It's for the most part here, unless you're looking for the Rocky Mountains. That ain't here. But
even then, El Paso kind of.
But we have elevation. Like you can do all sorts of different elevations if that's your thing too. So yeah, it's amazing to see the growth of this industry, and I cannot wait to see the impact that it's going to have on tourism. Like it's awesome. And what y'all are doing with the trail is absolutely perfect. It needed to happen. It's finally to the point that like this didn't make sense 7 years ago. It made no sense 7 years ago. It makes all the sense in the world right now.
Yeah. So
thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting us, and for just to finish it off. TexasWhiskeyTrail.com, $55 gets you a membership, a Trailblazer membership to the trail. That's going to, starting in April 26th, around there. You're going to be able to go to all these distilleries, show them your card, and get in for free. So
Worth every penny.
Right.
Worth every penny. Good.
And you're going to have an amazing
That was your price point, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's for the Trailblazers, the pre-sale folks.
Awesome.
So get in on it while it's good.
Seriously.
It'll go up from there. Trust us.
Awesome. Cool, brother.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
All right, folks. So I think they're pretty good. I do want to bring in Wade because we don't have a lot of people working on the association with us. But this guy is an important part of it, and you have been an important part of Texas Whiskey.
Texas Whiskey people. Hi.
It looks like we got some more folks in here. If you have questions for Wade, please shoot them our way. Wade is our compliance officer, and what does that mean, Wade?
If you're going to sell a whiskey here in Texas that's Texas Whiskey Association certified, I'm going to be involved in the process to make sure that whiskey was truly mashed, fermented, distilled, aged, and bottled here in Texas.
Yeah, so folks, if you're going to see this label, this Texas Whiskey, certified Texas Whiskey label on a bottle, it's not just a sticker. It's not just something that we're selling. It's not just something that is just getting out there for a marketing purpose. There's going to be work behind it, and this is the guy going to be doing that work because he's going to be literally looking at the steps of the process to make sure that it's being done in the state. So talk a little bit about what that process is going to be like and what you're looking for.
Well, before any member comes aboard, we'll have an inspection and then also ongoing annual kind of onboarding.
Onboarding, verification.
Verification. And we're going to look at their grain handling capabilities, their mashing capabilities. We're going to make sure that the equipment that a distillery has in place basically matches what their output is. It's all to the point of making sure that we're selling Texas whiskey as Texas whiskey. Because there's a lot of source whiskey out there, and there's nothing wrong with sourcing whiskey. We don't have any issue with sourcing whiskey as long as you're honest about it. But the products that we're promoting and pushing are Texas whiskeys, and that's what this organization is about.
That's right. So folks, Wade, thanks for all you do. I know that you've been involved in it for a really long time, kind of fighting a one-man battle.
We've both have been for a while.
Yeah, but you've specifically been on this train for a while, and we wouldn't be where we are without the work that you've been doing to lay the groundwork. So thank you so much. And folks, we're going to wrap it up here from the San Antonio Cocktail Conference. Last little pitch: go to TexasWhiskey.org, TexasWhiskeyTrail.com, and sign up for the trail. Go to TexasWhiskey.org. Follow us on Facebook, and we have two Facebook sites: Texas Whiskey Association on Facebook and Texas Whiskey Trail on Facebook. Folks, thank you so much. I know that's a long live stream, but thank you so much. We had a lot of fun here, and we're looking forward to teaching you guys more about the trail as we have more in the future. Thank you so much, and cheers to everybody. Bye.